Good evening, every person. Persevering, let me correct that, in the face of adversity. I was having trouble only a little while ago finding a good way to stress an adjective. I found out that I didn't know what an adjective was. The power of accountability and responsibility. Athletes, listen to me all night long. Pacific Union College. Am I to understand that this program here today is a student-led event? I want to pronounce that because it takes time and it takes orderly conduct to do something like this, especially reach me. Now, I'm not saying I'm big and bad and all that, but it's kind of hard to reach me sometimes. Thank you to the Black Student Union. Thank you to, of course, the President, Dr. H. Knight. Thank you for your indulgence, President, and caring. And I really mean this. Students need you. And there's other names like Noel Morgan, BSU President. You know how much it takes to do this because you do have your academic curriculum to think of as well. And all the others, job well done. I was thinking about this on the flight here, about 5-hour flight, but that's okay because I left 22-degree weather. Any day I would trade that for this 60s weather you have here. My role in this life have been a very, very long road, but it's a road that I trod with dignity and emphasis. But you see, I'm only a man who has been blessed to stand at a time when standing for social equality was not a safe indulgence. And I also believe when one encounters problem acts linked to social inequality in public, and your reaction is a lethargic, oh well, and I think you are part of the total problem. There are those of us, of course, who believe that keeping quiet, listen to me now, that keeping quiet and not becoming involved in social change might be someone else's duty. Because you may feel that you are protected from social bias because you are protected because you have friends, or you have a good job, or you're a great athlete, or you smile a lot, and have friends in high places. I know this touched some of you out there. I pity your perennial loss. Just because you are not strong or brave enough to do certain emphasizing facts to help society doesn't emancipate you to run and hide. In fact, because of our distinctness, young folks, because of our distinctness, and I use young folks, because you're like us old folks, you come in all colors. The struggle for equality is the same. There's no great difference. Our accountability and our responsibility are more pronounced because we know that inequality is alive and well. So you can run, but you cannot hide. So don't even think about turning to your neighbor and say that inequality or racism doesn't exist, or it's sick, or it has pneumonia. It don't have no chest pains. It don't have retinitis. It's alive and it's well. But we just have to deal with that fact because man himself is a cause of a lot of erroneous acts which we partake of today. Think about yourself as I go through this. And young folks from Benjamin E. Hayes, who was the longtime president of Morehouse College, he said, "It is not your intolerable environment so much as it is you, the quality of your mind, the integrity of your soul, the determination of your will. This will decide futures and shape lives." And he said, "It must be borne in mind that the tragedy of life doesn't lie in not reaching your goal. The tragedy lies in having no goals to reach for. Furthermore, it isn't a calamity to die with dreams unfulfilled." Think of Dr. Martin Luther King. It isn't a tragedy to die with dreams unfulfilled, but it is a calamity not to dream. And you know, I think of Dr. King in his dream speech many times on August 28th, 1963. And in fact, 1963, I was a 6'3", 160-pound freshman going into San Jose State University right down the road from y'all. He said, and I quote, listen to it, he said, "I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal." You know, Dr. King's dream stood, in fact, it withstood the withering of time. It is not a sin. It is not a shame to dream. I was talking to Reverend out there earlier this evening, and I'm going to tell you, let no man, woman, or child indicate to anybody that overcoming is a dead issue. We should not wallow in despair, folks. Of course we've come a long ways. We've come a mighty long ways. We stand on the shoulders of our forefathers, and it is our responsibility to be accountable for the future generations. Young folks, you may be young, but you are not without duty. Pain is obvious. We all have it. But how you cope with it is not. We handle it in different ways. In the old days when we would, well, call it the new generation would call it the old school. You know how y'all like to tarry on us old folks by saying the old school, that we can't dial the telephone correctly. Well, you're probably right. I'm used to the old rotary telephone. In fact, the pink one we had in our living room. And it takes you 2 minutes just to dial somebody's number, and you probably got the wrong number, or it was on a party line where everybody down your street could hear you talk. At least I did anyway. I got a lot of whoopings by sneaking in on other folks' phone calls. But there was a word back in those days that we heard on a daily basis. On a daily basis. Because it was a word in your face every day. The further geographically south, the more overtly pronounced. The word racism means, my definition, not Webster's, any program or practice of racial discrimination, segregation, persecution, or domination. Any chapter in the Bible, you'll find something dealing with those three conscious words. And we're guilty of all of them. There are those of us from the old school, I just mentioned a few moments ago, who recognize the need to search proactively for answers. And I'm speaking of those students back when I was coming up, especially those of us who stood under the Olympian Project for Human Rights, which you'll hear in just a minute. And in that research, we found much inhuman, unconstitutional bias, and the necessity to aggressively opt for change was not optional. We just had to do it. Reverend, we were talking about that a little bit earlier. It was a duty of accountability and responsibility. You know, it's written in our Constitution that if it doesn't represent us all, the American public, with the same legitimacy, then lobbying to change, oh my God, lobbying to change it is not a crime. It's not a crime. Thus, Mexico City, 1968. the victory stand. I was in my early 20s. I know you're not there yet, students, but in my early 20s, a stand was eminently necessary. Think about this. You know, it's hard, for me it was, it's hard to imagine, in retrospect, the degradation my parents tolerated because of inequalities and unconstitutional treatment. You might say, Coach or Tommie or Dr. Smith, or how did you know? Because folks, I saw it. I was there. I saw it. I felt it. But crying as a little baby, as a little boy, I couldn't do nothing to change it. My life from the victory stand, years later, suggested proactive social change, strengthened by the blood-filled ashes of revolt that redirected social degradation to a pride that is recognized at the top step of the White House and beyond. Sometimes it does take dreaming, and there is no shame in dreaming. You see, the word change is socially more accepted this day than the word revolt. I'm thinking yesteryears now. But the word change can also be confused with the clothes you wore yesterday. There is no ambiguity in the word revolt. I believe the victory stand in 1968 made clear that clothing was not the issue. The issue was, and it still is, equality. Civil, human. Looking around here, seeing who's in charge, seeing who's dealing with each other, seeing who you sit by, we have come a long ways from the time of forced migration.